Hello, everyone. Welcome back to EBS. It's another episode of Come Sit With Us. And my name is Steve. Today, what we're talking about is something that is, I think of it as kind of an integral part of all meditation. And two things. One, that ability just to hold a thought for a period of time and let your mind kind of settle or rest. What we call it's like a resting awareness. And to do that long enough for all of those thoughts and stuff to settle out, settle out, settle out, and then to have an awareness that you kind of shift into a little bit. And I'll explain this here in a second. So there's a meditation, a Buddhist meditation that is as old as Buddha himself. In fact, it's one of the first ones that he taught, and it's called shamatha. And you could sum it up as something along the lines of, follow your breath. Just follow your breath as that meditation. Now, when you do that, of course, you know what's going to happen. You're going to have 1,000 thoughts, come into your mind, but you always bring yourself back to following your breath. Well, today, that same idea, but we're going to change it. We're going to just the smallest of tads, in a sense. And with that thought of, let's watch our breath. Simply watch our breath. And we know, again, what's going to happen. Those 20,000 thoughts are going to show up. They always do. They're always there in the back of our mind, right? And when they do, what we want to consider is watch our thoughts. Okay? So we're watching our breath going in and out. And as the thoughts begin to come up, we just watch those and pay attention to them. Okay? This ability to self-monitor is something that we do all the time. We are really aware of when our mind is scattered, when we're feeling anxious, when we're so easily distracted. We have that awareness, that ability to self-monitor, self-regulate in a sense. In the meditative mind, you could say that when we practice that skill of becoming aware of that background monitoring, what we're doing is stepping into the presence of the observer. Now, it's kind of important, I think, to understand the wording here, in that you have that part of your mind that continually monitors, as we say, right? It's observing those thoughts, those feelings, and it knows how you're doing, right? Instead of just living out those thoughts and those feelings, instead of just feeling anxious, sad, happy, depressed, whatever it might be, instead of just feeling that, you have an awareness of that. Okay? You have an awareness that you're really feeling up today. You have an awareness that that fight you had last night really kind of brings you down, today. You have an awareness of that. And so in this meditative state, we bring that awareness of the observer and just observe our thoughts, observe ourselves getting frustrated with having these thoughts, and observe ourselves feeling a little bit distracted. Observe ourselves as we go through this meditation process. And then here is what I would offer for consideration, is that when you can step into that role of the observer for any period of time, just for a few seconds, with awareness, then you step into something that I would say is the presence. You step into the presence of something greater than you. Now, that makes it sound like, that's something that's out there, but it's not. It's something that lies within each of us. You hear in the Buddhist world, you hear so often, recognize the Buddha in the other person, right? And I think that's just a kind of a way of saying that we all have that space that is there fundamentally, that is who we are, and we share that with each other. It's a very fundamental connection that we have. And you can think of it as when you become aware of the observer, you step into the presence of that something that's greater than you. Okay. Now, the trick of that, I think, is that when you have that awareness come up, is just to hold that awareness, resting awareness again, right? That idea of resting awareness, hold that awareness for just a period of time. You might be able to do it for a few seconds, a few minutes, it doesn't matter. And as you do, my guess is what you're going to experience is an expansion of that awareness, just a natural expansion. There's nothing spooky about this or supernatural or weird or whatever. It is kind of actually stepping into or allowing that part of who we fundamentally are, allowing that to come from the background into the foreground. And as we practice that state of openness, then perhaps we might become aware maybe it has certain qualities that are associated with that state of presence. And maybe those qualities are unique to each of us. And this is what I offer, that maybe for some of us, as we step into that presence, we feel greater compassion. We don't judge. We understand. We embrace. We see that we all walk together. There's a sense of unity that draws us together. And maybe when we step into presence, maybe we understand it in that light. For others, it might be something else. It might be that we understand it with clarity, and with clarity, it brings us vision. With vision, our ability to see what's going on and to see that bigger picture. And we can see those connections and on and so forth. So I would kind of offer the thought, now, would this not be interesting? As we sit and meditate, then perhaps what we do fundamentally is practice stepping into that observer that's always there, it's always part of us, stepping into that observer. And when we do, we feel like, and we begin to see, we begin to experience what it's like to step into that presence that's greater than who we are, than our own personal dramas. And it's interesting, you'll often hear us at EBS, we'll talk about this concept of take it off of the mat, right? So we come in and we sit, we meditate on the mat, and we have whatever experiences that we all have, right? And then we leave the mat. And I think the goal here is to take whatever we experienced and take it into the community, take it back to our families, take it back to our neighbors, take it back to the people we work with at some level, in some way, shape, or form. And perhaps when we exercise that muscle, then perhaps what we're doing is creating a fertile ground for our next meditation to begin to be expressed, you know? And so it's kind of the thought. So today, what we're going to practice, what we're going to try is watching, just observing. And I would suggest this. Allow yourself to just observe. It's just like you're going to tell yourself, you're going to pre-teach to yourself, just going to observe. You're just going to watch. That's all you're going to do is just watch. As you do this, then also tell yourself or remind yourself that as we watch, then maybe what we do is become aware of that presence that we stand in. Okay. I know that some of you guys, if you've been with us for a while, there's a meditation that we practice where we picture an entity in front of us. And in the Buddhist world, of course, it would be Buddha. In in the church world, it would be Jesus. In the world of Allah, it's Allah, right? And we see that entity in front of us, And we associate so many great things with that entity. And then what we do is we feel that depth of being coming from that entity to us and just filling us, right? And it's very expansive and it's a great feeling. And then this is the critical step. And then we step into that entity. In a sense, we merge ourselves so that instead of it being something that's coming from the outside, it's actually something coming from within us. And that we all are that Buddha, we all are that Jesus, we all are that Allah. At a certain level, we all have that connection with each other that is very, very fundamental. I often I have an active imagination, and I often wonder what it would be like if Buddha, Jesus, Allah, whoever, was here in the room with me today, sitting in front of me. Would they be judging me for my lack of wisdom, my limited insight? Or would they be truly understanding, not judging, but accepting and very open to what I am or who I'm trying to be or all my hopes and all that sort of stuff, right? And I tend to think that if they were in this room right now, I would feel that compassion open. I would feel that presence just begin to grow in me. And I would feel that that is something that we intimately shared, right? And so we have to kind of imagine that this presence, this observer, is something that is such a part of who we are. And sometimes we need a key to unlock it. And thus we have teachers, right? And great teachers of the past and great teachers of the present. We have those teachers to help us unlock that key. In addition, we also have our own practice, which unlocks that door, right? And as we practice stepping into the observer, as we practice becoming more aware of the presence that surrounds us, then we allow that part of ourselves to come from the background of our minds to the foreground of our minds. And then when we do that, again, we take it off the cushion and then we practice that awareness, as they say, out in the wild. And that gives it a chance to begin to incorporate into who we are inside. So today we're going to give that a shot and see what happens a little bit. All right. So as we meditate, we know that we want to sit, whether we're on a cushion or in a chair, we want to sit relaxed and alert. And as we do that, we want to focus on our breathing just a little bit. And as we shift our focus over to our breathing, perhaps our breath becomes longer, slower, deeper, and our body now begins to relax and to open up. And as it does this, and as I prepare myself for meditation, I practice on trying to feel myself in this chair, myself in this room. I want to feel my own presence, my own personal presence around me, just for a second. And as I breathe, and as I prepare to meditate, for me, I close my eyes. I take a few long, deep breaths. And I start with a simple body scan. And I bring my attention to the base of my spine. And as I breathe, I feel that area relaxing, opening up, releasing. I move my awareness up to my stomach, my lower back, and as I breathe, I allow that area to open, to relax, to release. And now shift my awareness up to my chest, between my shoulder blades. And with each breath, I allow this to open up, to release, to relax. I take another breath in, and I bring my awareness up to my forehead, and I allow this area to relax, to open up, to release. And now I'm going to shift my attention. I'm just going to watch my breath. Watch the process of it coming in, the process of it nourishing my body, the release, the exhale. I'm just going to watch this. As I do, my thoughts will arise. And as they do, I welcome them. I watch that process. I observe it. As I observe, I begin to feel the presence that I stand in. And let's practice this for a few minutes. Let's take a deep breath. Bring your awareness to the chair you're on, the cushion you're on, to the room you're in. And as you open your eyes, feel that presence around you. All right. Well, I hope this meditation was a benefit for you. And if so, to a small degree, if at all, then as with any meditation, consider it and practice it for a bit. Maybe it's something that speaks to you. And if it does, practice it, and then whatever you gain from it, take off the cushion and take into your community, take into your family, take into your neighbors, and then exercise that meditative mind out there in the world. And then perhaps if we do that, perhaps we have a more complete meditation experience in our lives. You know, doesn't hurt, does it, at all? I hope that this has been a benefit, and that sometimes just using a little bit of imagination and just paying attention can open doors for us that maybe we thought that weren't there to open. You never know until you give it a try, do you? So there we are. All right, guys, thank you very much for being here with us today.